Today's date is January 24th, 1996. We're in Kathy Buffington's home in Punta Gorda, Florida. And I need to tell everybody that this video is being done privately for the purpose of introducing this business to new independent representatives and for training new independent representatives on doing this presentation. It has not been approved by STS Inc. in Knoxville, Tennessee. Is that done? Okay. The greatest testimony that we have to this program is sitting right here in this room tonight. I came here for the first time January 28th, which is about 3.5 weeks ago, and there were 4 couples in this room. And in 3.5 weeks, this is what's happened. This is absolutely mind-boggling. And Monday night, we had a meeting at the Days Inn and expected maybe 10 or 15 people, and it was standing room only. And this started right here in this living room. The first people to come into this business from Charlotte County that I know of 3.5 weeks ago. So when I tell you on this board in a few minutes how this business duplicates, the proof of that is right here in this room. Okay? So the truth is in this room. You don't have to listen to me. It has proven itself right here on Mitchell Avenue in Charlotte County. Now, what I have to tell you about tonight is an opportunity. It's a network marketing opportunity, no different in concept than Amway, Nu Skin, Herbalife, any of the others that you're familiar with. The difference is this is absolutely a ground floor opportunity. The company is only 18 months old. It started May 16th with 4 representatives, one in Sarasota, one in San Diego, California, one in Dallas, Texas, and one in Springfield, Missouri. This is no different than had someone presented you the opportunity to join Amway 30 years ago. I happen to personally feel that an opportunity like this may never pass any of our way again. I honestly believe that. I made a total commitment to it because someone convinced me that was true, and it's been absolutely the most unbelievable experience that I have ever had in my life. I feel like I have won the lottery, and I wake up every morning pinching myself. And the only difference between me and everyone in this room is 10 weeks. That's exactly how far you are behind what I have done. Now, this particular opportunity has absolutely nothing to do with your education, your background, any skills that you've acquired, your work experience, your age, or your temperament. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything you've done before. We have brought firefighters, sheriff deputies, farmers, homemakers, cosmeticians, doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs into this business in the last 10 weeks. And we have success stories in every one of those people. The only people that are not succeeding at this are people that have written us a check and never left their house after that. And I can give you the names and addresses of as many people as you want in my downline who will verify what I'm saying to you right now. Now, my background is a public school teacher. It's all that I've ever done. I taught school for almost 20 years, kindergarten through 5th grade, taught high school English 1 year, and 10 years ago, opened my own daycare center. I have never worked with adults. I've never talked to a room full of adults like this. I'm used to talking to little children. I shouldn't be able to do this. I shouldn't be able to stand up in front of this board and talk to a group of people like this. This is a skill that I've acquired in the last 10 weeks because I'm so incredibly excited about what I'm doing that it's very easy for me to do this. A lot of people in this room have heard me say that the only D I ever made in my life was in Speech 101 at the University of Florida. And you're going to say, my goodness, this is such a polished presentation. She knows these things backward and forward. But until 10 weeks ago, I've never stood in front of a group of people and given a presentation like that. We've had people say, I can't come into this business because I can't do what she's doing. Nobody ever has to do this. There's always someone in your group that will do what I'm doing. It's important at some point that you understand the business so that you can explain it to someone on their coffee table or on their dining room table, or so that you'll understand it yourself. You have to know how you're earning the money that you're earning. But it's not important that you ever do this. Starting next week, we'll be doing this every single Monday night at the Quality Inn in Charlotte County. Actually, that's not true. It's going to be Monday night this week. They may have to rearrange the night, but it'll be one night a week. We're going to have one night a week at a civic center in Fort Myers. There's one night a week in Sarasota. There's one night a week in Highlands County. And it will be very, very shortly before any place where you have people within a 50, 60-mile radius. We will have a meeting once a week open to anybody that you want to bring. So it isn't important that any of you are able to do this. There's a fax on demand, there's a conference call number, there's a 1-800 number, there's all different ways that you can get information to your prospects. Now, the name of this organization is Strategic Telecom Systems, Inc. It began May 16th of 1995, and the 4 corporate officers were with a company called Global Media Telecommunications, which is a New York Stock Exchange traded company that deals in all kinds of telecommunications. Now, these 4 people, after having been together 5.5 years with this organization, broke off. There was a couple things they did in the meantime, but they broke off and started this company for the sole purpose of network marketing prepaid phone cards. Now, they had, the very first thing that they did was hire a very large, prestigious network marketing law firm to lay out the game plan for everybody, tell us exactly how we were going to operate our business. Because apparently, any time a new network marketing company comes on the scene, everyone is looking for them to fail, and they invite a lot of scrutiny. And a lot of them do fail. 90% of them fail. So they wanted to make sure that everything we did was absolutely up and up, met all network marketing law in all 50 states. And that same network marketing law firm monitors our progress on a daily basis to make sure that at no time do we do anything to invite scrutiny. To date, there has been none. If you check with the Attorney General's office in Florida, you will find that there have been no inquiries, that there have been no complaints. And we have checked out the 4 corporate officers in terms of their credentials that they make public, and they are who they say they are, and they've been where they say they've been, and they've done what they say that they've done. So from our perspective, my husband is a lawyer, and he feels very comfortable with the fact that we're in very, very good hands in terms of what we're doing being very legal, very on the up and up, very much in accordance with state law. And he also thinks that it's an incredible opportunity because his wife is making more money than he is now. Okay? After many, many years of me going to him to fill my pockets, he thinks this is an incredible opportunity. Now, the product is a prepaid phone card. In order to have a network marketing opportunity, you have to have a product. I had never heard of a prepaid phone card until I got into this business. They serve several purposes. In addition to this being a ground floor opportunity, it is also a ground floor product. For the past 7 years, this has been the only way you can make a long-distance phone call in a payphone in Europe. If you were to travel to Europe, these are as common as a MasterCard or a Visa. Everyone has them. There's vending machines everywhere. You can't make a phone call without them. In the United States, it's just the beginning of a trend. I have information that I can fax to you or run off to you over an inch thick that I've accumulated since I've been in this business. And I came into this business November 1st because, number 1, the company sends it to me all the time. Number 2, my friends send it to me. Number 3, people from all over the country that I have talked to about this business fax things to me. Everything that they read in any of the periodicals, any of the publications, business publications, any of the newspapers, if you were looking for this, you would be able to understand that what I'm telling you is true, that the United States is on a trend. In a very short time, this is going to be as common to you as your MasterCard or Visa. Inner city Chicago right now, it's the only way you can make a long-distance call from a payphone. I was in the Atlanta airport 3 or 4 weeks ago, and you could not use coins in the payphone. You had to have one of these, or you had to have a credit card. You could use a credit card, but you couldn't use coins. The reason that everyone is going to coinless payphones is, number 1, vandalism, and number 2, the cost of going around and collecting the money out of it. The people that buy these, people don't buy these to use them in their home. If you're an STS representative, you'll use them in the home because you will pay 0 cents for them. You will earn them free. So we use them in our home. My husband uses them in his office. My kids all have them. But people don't buy them for that purpose. They're for people that make long-distance calls away from their home. Payphones, truck drivers, sales representatives, university students, military bases, migrant workers, people that do not make long-distance phone calls from their home, or people that make them from their home but also make them away from their home. My daughter is a sales representative for a major pharmaceutical company, and her company issues these to her every week with her expense check. It's the only way that she's allowed to call long distance because the company pays so much per minute for this. They might pay 15 cents a minute, they might pay 50 cents a minute, I don't know what they pay. But the point is, they know in advance how much my daughter is going to pay for every phone call she makes to her clients all over the country. Where before, when she had her AT&T credit card that was issued to her by her company, whenever she made a long-distance call, it could have been anywhere from $1.50 to $4 and $5 a minute, depending on where she was staying. There are Holiday Inns at Lake Buena Vista that charge $3 to $5 a minute Whenever you add all of the surcharges on, and the surcharges that the credit card adds on, and the surcharges because it's night or midnight or 6 a.m. in the morning, or because you're calling California instead of Sarasota, Florida, you know how the rates vary. With this card, whatever you pay for it, whether it's 15 cents a minute or 50 cents a minute, that is the price you pay for that long distance call, whether it is midnight, noon, peak time, off time, it makes no difference. So those are the kind of people that purchase these cards. The other way they're used, and if you're looking for them, you'll see them everywhere. I never noticed them until I got into this business, but it's for promotional purposes. You might read an ad in the newspaper that says, please open, or if you open a bank account with our bank, we'll give you 30 minutes of free long distance. They were in the Cheerio boxes all during September, October, November, during the fall. Whenever you opened your Cheerio box, there was a prepaid phone card, had a box of Cheerios on it, and it was worth 10 minutes of free long distance. If you had film processed in Eckerd's drugstore during December, you got one of these cards, had Eckerd's logo on it. Whenever you used it, a recording came on that said something like, thank you for giving your business to Eckerd Drugs. Please remember us for all your pharmaceutical needs. Seagram 7, if you had bought a bottle of Seagram 7 in the month of December, the gift bottles that you give to people for Christmas, not me of course, but those kind of gifts, inside was a card like this, had the Seagram's label on it or the Seagram's logo, and whenever they used the card it said something like, happy holidays from the Seagram's family, please don't drink and drive, have a designated driver and have a prosperous 1996, something along those lines. You can sell them to businesses to use as their business card. For example, a car dealer might order these. They would have the car dealer's logo on it, the name, the address. It would look exactly like their business card. And when the salesman gave it to you, he would say, please hold on to my business card. It's worth 10 minutes of free long distance. And then when you used it, a recording would come on that would say something like, this call is courtesy of Charlotte Ford. The next time you're in the market for a Ford truck or car, please call the salesman that gave you this card. STS, this particular company, is the largest retailer of prepaid phone cards in the world, and the company is only 8 months old. Now, they have a lot of promotional items in addition to all the things I just told you about. At Christmas time, for example, you could have ordered prepaid phone cards that were Christmas cards. You could have your family photograph on it, just like you have photo Christmas cards made at Eckerd's, and it might say Merry Christmas from the McAnleys, which means when you sent it to somebody, you were sending them a Christmas gift as well as a Christmas card. And when they used it, there would be 30 seconds of pre-recorded Christmas messages from you and your family. You could have said something like, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We wish you were in sunny Florida. Look forward to seeing you and hope you have a very prosperous 1996. Love from all the McAnleys. You could have even had all 5 family members come on and say 5 or 6 seconds. It was really a neat product. They have Easter cards, Valentine cards, get well cards. They had a Santa Claus card this year that merchants bought. They were $2.50 each, wholesale, and they had Santa and Rudolph on the front, and merchants gave them away to their customers, and then when a child dialed the PIN number on the back, they had a 3-minute live interactive call with Santa Claus. Now, the people right now in my downline that are retailing these cards, I haven't started retailing them yet because I'm very busy building this business, and I think it's real important to get a good residual income coming in before you spend a lot of time doing this. But there are a lot of people retailing them in my organization, and to date we have people that have rented booths at the flea markets and are selling them to the migrant workers. We have a very large migrant population in Arcadia. We have a lot of people that have ordered them and are sending them to the military bases where their children are stationed, to the university campuses where their children are stationed. We had a lot of people order Santa Claus cards at Christmas time, and I had a call today from somebody in Jacksonville who is in my downline who has an appointment tomorrow, the second appointment with a very large car dealer. He's worked his way up to the owner, who is very, very interested in prepaid phone cards as their business card, like I just explained to you. So the opportunity for marketing these is enormous, and the commission that the company pays you for marketing them is enormous. But to date, I can't give you a lot of information about this because I haven't retailed any cards yet. The opportunity is there, and I'm sure that all of us will get around to it. But the first thing you want to do is build this business so that you have a very strong residual income coming in, so that when you can sit back and collect that check every week without doing a thing, in your spare time, you can go out and sell some phone cards. Okay? Have it on. I put it on because I was going to be taped. I wanted to look nice. Okay? Where was I? Did you turn it off? What did I say last?
Compensation plan. Start with that.
Okay, the way you make your money with this company is absolutely mind-boggling, and you're going to say it's too good to be true, and normally when you hear something that's too good to be true, it isn't, but this is. Okay? And I told you at the beginning of this, all you have to do is ask me, and I will give you as many names as you want. I've been in this business 10 weeks. If you want 10 names, I'll give them to you. If you want 100 names, I will give them to you of people underneath me that are already getting checks. And nobody in this business underneath me has been in longer than 9 weeks. Okay? Now, the way you make your money with this company is it costs $99 to become an independent representative with STS, and for that money you get a thick manual which tells you everything you need to know about running the business. If you read it cover to cover, it will answer every question that you have, and I still refer to it when people ask me questions. In addition to that, you get a videotape that lasts 7 or 8 minutes. It's very professionally done, tells you all about the product, all about the company, all about a little bit about the compensation plan. It puts a face on the company. You see the corporate headquarters, you meet some of the corporate officers, and a number of people come on and tell about the success story that they've had. But it's a very nice way to start off a presentation, and very often in homes we do that first. It lasts 7 or 8 minutes. In addition, there is an audio tape that explains the compensation plan to you. And this compensation plan is very, very easy to understand, but it's very difficult to repeat to somebody else until you've heard it 3 or 4 times. So if you listen to that tape 3 or 4 times, it starts settling in, and it's easier for you then to present the program to somebody else. You get applications, product order forms, sales aid forms, and you get 30 minutes of collectible cards, prepaid, long distance. In addition to that, you get a spot in the computer. It's called an Income Resource Center. The computer is located at corporate headquarters in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's identified by your Social Security number, and it's the way the company tracks you each week to pay you your commission check, which is paid weekly. It's a biannual compensation plan, and I don't know what that means, but it's a network marketing term. It has a left side and a right side and an imaginary line down the middle. Now, in order to begin earning commissions with STS, you have to have $600 worth of personal sales. You only have to do that one time, and you can earn commission for the rest of your life. But before you can begin earning commissions, and before the company will hold group sales to pay you commissions, you have to have $600 worth of personal sales. Now, there's several ways that you can do that. But the easiest way, and the way that those of us in this room did it, and for the sake of this presentation, the way that I'm going to tell you about, is to purchase $200 worth of product yourself. You become a product of the product, you own a prepaid phone card, you learn how to use it, you call your friends long distance and explain this business to them, you get real excited, you learn how it works, and you can explain it to people. The next thing that you do is you introduce this business to Mary and Tom. So at this point, you have $299 invested, a $200 phone card, or $200 worth of product. You don't have to necessarily order one phone card, and $99 for your career pack. Now, how do you introduce this business to Mary and Tom? Both of them are going to buy a $200 prepaid phone card, and you're going to have your $600 worth of personal sales. Now, how do you do this? This is the hardest part. It's the only hard part. You aren't in this business yet. You're a little insecure about what you're doing. You don't want to introduce it to your friend. You think they're going to tell you no, and they might. You're going to have a hard time getting them to a meeting like this because they've been introduced to these kind of things all their life, and they don't want to come and sit through another meeting, something they're not interested in doing. So this is going to be the hardest part. The way this was introduced to me is somebody called me that I hadn't heard from in 4 years. He was a barber that had lived in Arcadia for years. He had been my husband's barber, and his children had come to my daycare center. And I hadn't seen him because he had moved to Sarasota. And out of the clear blue sky, he called me up and said, "Hey, Stephanie, this is Ron Walden. Remember me?" And I said, yeah, I remember you. But I didn't. And I'm in that position of having to hope that it dawns on me who he is before I get caught. And we're small talking, and all of a sudden he started talking about his kids, and it kind of registered who he was. And out of the clear blue sky, he said, "If I could show you a way to eliminate your long distance bill for the rest of your life without changing your carrier, would you be interested?" I said, "Well, sure, Ron, but what's the catch here?" And it so happens that our long distance bill is about $1,000 a month because our home bill is about $300, and my daycare center bill is about $300, and my husband his kind of vacillates between 300 and 500. So yeah, that was real attractive to me, but I know there's a catch. And I said, what's the catch here? And he said, well, at the same time, I could show you how to earn a substantial weekly income. Would you be interested? And I said, Ron, cut to the bottom line here. I know there's a catch. There's no free lunch. What do I have to do? Because I figured, that there would be something that I would have to do in terms of selling soap to my friends, to acquire points, to trade in for long distance somewhere down the line. I knew it was something I wouldn't be interested in doing. He said right off the bat, it's a brand new network marketing company. And I said, Ron, let me just stop you right here. I wish you all the luck in the world, but I'm really not interested in network marketing. And he asked me if I would just please listen to a conference call that night. And this is a sales tool that the company offers. It's offered 41 times a week. I didn't know that at this time. It's one of the things the company offers in addition to the fax on demand, where you can give a number to your friends and they can get up to 20 minutes worth of information. And I said, yeah, I'll make that call. He said, if you make this call and you're not interested after that, I'll never call you again. Well, this was my way of blowing him off. I was very excited. I said, sure, I'll make this call. So he told me that it would be at 8 o'clock that night. And he told me that he would call me after it was over to see if I was interested. Well, what happened, at about 3 minutes to 8, the phone rang, and he said, hey, Stephanie, this is Ron. Are you going to make that call? I said, oh, shoot. Now I have to make the call. He's called and reminded me. And I said, oh, yeah, Ron, I was going to make that call. And he said, well, listen, I have free long distance. I'm going to three-way you in. How's that? So I was stuck, and I had to make the phone call. But the truth is, the phone call excited me, and I was very interested. It lasts about 17 or 18 minutes. It's a sales tool that all of you should use. It's live. It's interactive. People come on from all over the country. They're people just like you and me. It's not rehearsed. It's spontaneous. It's so unrehearsed that you might get a phone call one night and say, hey, you want to participate in the conference call tonight? Someone comes on and says, hey, I'm Susie from Dallas. Let me tell you all about the company. And then she says, hey, Corey, are you on up there in Schenectady? And he'll say, yeah, you want me to tell everybody about the product? And then they'll call in someone from San Diego who will tell you all about the compensation plan. And then people start piping in from all over the country telling you about what a great week they had. The last time I listened to it, somebody said, boy, you're not going to believe what happened. My daughter hit gold this week and I didn't. She's making $1,200 a week and I only got $600. Those kind of things start coming in all over the country. And it's just neat. And I was excited at the end of the call. So I let him come to my house the next day and show me the plan that I'm going to show you. And he showed it to me on my kitchen table. And it absolutely knocked my socks off. And what happened is when he showed me this program, number one, I learned that it was a ground floor opportunity. The company had only been in existence for 6 months. I knew that he was no longer a barber. I knew that his wife didn't work and he had 3 children. And I knew he was making $2,000 a week because he showed me his checks. He had about 6 or 8 weeks worth of checks. They were $1,800 one week, $2,200, $2,000, $2,400, $1,800. They kind of vacillated in that vicinity. And I just felt if he could do this, I could do it. And what happened is that night, I called a friend of mine in Atlanta who is my age. I went to college with her, and she's a guidance counselor in a high school there, and her husband's with the Philharmonic Orchestra. Neither one of them have any sales experience, let alone sales personalities. And they had been involved in Amway, and they had been involved in New Skin over the past 20 years. So I called just hoping that they had heard of STS. And when I called her, she said, Stephanie, I can't believe you're calling me. We got involved with STS the 1st of August. And we're making approximately $2,800 a week, and we're only working weekends. She said, you need to get on this bandwagon. It is the ride of your life. Well, so what happened to me then, I had 2 people that I knew personally that were no different than me in terms of experience or motivation or background or skills, who had been in this business 3 to 4 months, who were making $100,000 a year. And I knew if they could do it, I could do it. So the first thing I did was call my sister, and she was the first person that I wanted to bring into the company. Well, what happened is I called her, and I was so excited I couldn't contain myself, like you all are going to be when I'm done. And I said, Laren, you're not going to believe what I just found out about. It's the most unbelievable opportunity. We're going to make tons of money. You got to write me a check. We are going to make more money than you can imagine. And she said, how? And I said, I don't have a clue. And I didn't. I just knew that it worked for Ron, and I knew that it worked for my friend Annie, and I knew it was going to work for us, but I couldn't tell her. And of course, needless to say, she said, no, it was too bad. So what I had to do was I took her the next night to Sarasota to a presentation like this, and she left with her tongue hanging out. And what we did then was we made a commitment to go at this very hard, 3 to 4 months, 6 months, whatever it took. And we figured that in that length of time, we could set ourselves up for the rest of our life. And I want to tell you that we are very, very close to being at that point. And now when I said that we made a very serious commitment, we both have day jobs. I still run my daycare center. She is a horse trainer and still works full-time at that. And what that means is that we're doing this every night. Now, in the beginning, it wasn't to packed houses like this. But every night we were calling friends. Every night we were going over to a friend's house. Just one-on-one, we're calling up and saying, Bobby, are you home tonight? We want to come talk to you. We were just contacting people like that every night, 5 nights a week. It evolved into this. But what I'm saying is we made a prospect list and we started calling them. And we decided to do that with a very, very strong commitment to get it off the ground. Now, what happens then after you invite Mary and Tom into this business? Mary invites Arthur and Bob. Tom brings in Chuck and David. Arthur brings in Earl and Frank. Bob brings in, let's say, George. Chuck brings in Harold and Jack. David brings in Ken and Larry. Now, if you'll look at this diagram, you'll see that if this is Stephanie, I can only bring in 2 people directly underneath me, Mary and Tom. Anyone else that I bring in has to go underneath Mary and Tom. Now, my first week, I brought in my sister, my mother, and 3 of my friends. So if I put my sister here and my mother there, where did my 3 friends go? They had to go under my mother, under my sister, under Bob, under Chuck, under David, wherever I decided to place them. And that's true of all of us that come in. The people above me in Sarasota have to put their people underneath my people. So this whole effort, from beginning to end, is a group effort. You can only bring in 2 people and put them under you directly. And the beauty of this is if I bring in somebody that I meet at Winn-Dixie tomorrow, and I really don't track people down in the aisles at the grocery store, but if that were to happen and I were to bring them in personally, and I were to put them way down here underneath Jack's mother and sister and brother, the compensation that I would receive for that person coming in would be exactly the same as if I had put them there in Mary or Tom's spot. And I understand with other network marketing programs that people that you bring in personally, you benefit more from them in terms of compensation than the people they bring in, and the people they bring in, the people they bring in, and the farther down it goes, the less compensation you receive. Not true with STS. The person way down here and this person right here, I receive exactly the same compensation for bringing them in. So there's no big advantage of me bringing them in personally. I'm just as happy when you bring in somebody and they go under me as I am when I bring in somebody and they go under me. Now what happens is if each one of these people bring in 2 people a month, not a week, not a day, 2 people a month, at the end of a year, you'll have 8,000 people underneath you. And that's a mathematical fact. So we're not saying you have to go out there and bring in 10 people a week. We're saying if everyone brings in 2 people a month, at the end of a year, you'll have 8,000 people underneath you. Now what happens next is everybody that comes into this business fills out an application and gives you a check. You have to send them to Knoxville, Tennessee so that they reach the home office noon Monday of every week. We overnight them on Saturday morning. That's the only paperwork involved here. But every Monday at noon, the company ceases to accept any new business for the week. Anything that comes in after that, they just shelf till the following Monday at noon. And they come to my Social Security number. And they look on the left and they look on the right for group sales volume. That means everything the people on my left have sold and everything the people on my right have sold. Now, each one of these people purchased $200 worth of product to come in. And in addition, it's very likely that Arthur had ordered some cards to send to his son at the military base in Biloxi. And it's very likely that Bob ordered some Santa Claus cards for his jewelry store. And it's very possible that Earl sold some cards to DeSoto Ford to use as business cards. So when it looks on your left and it looks on its right, it's looking for any retail sales that took place, any purchasing of cards. But for the sake of this presentation, because it's easier to explain to you that way, we're just going to count the $200 that each person paid to come into the business. Okay? So it's going to look on my left and it's going to find $200, $400, $600, $800, $1000, $1,200 worth of group sales. Not personal sales. This is what me and Mary and Arthur and Bob and Earl and Frank and George brought into the business this week. On this side, it's going to look and it's going to find $200, $400, $600, $800, $1000, $1200, $1400. Now, the computer is only looking for $1,000 increments, and it found $1,000 here, and it found $1,000 here. So I have reached what they call step 1, which is the bronze step, which means I earn a $200 commission check and a 5-hour prepaid long-distance card. Now, the company doesn't need this $200 because they're only looking for $1,000, so that group sales volume is going to roll over to the next week. So I'm going to start off next week with $200 to my credit and $400 to my credit. Okay? Now, at this particular point, you've earned this $200 check and a 5-hour card, and if you say to yourself, I'm really sorry I joined STS, I'm not having a good time, haven't met any people that I like, don't like going out 1 hour a week and talking to my friends, so I'm going to quit. I'm not going to do this anymore. If that happens, that's fine, but chances are you're still going to receive another check and another check and another check, because what happens, if this is you and you're not having a good time and you don't want to do this anymore, chances are Mary and Tom and Bob and Chuck and Jack, maybe not everybody, but a good portion of these people are having a good time and don't mind devoting a couple hours a week, and they're going to keep working, and this is going to keep growing, and you're going to get another check whether you like it or not. Okay? So what happens is exactly what we said. This continues to grow like this, and maybe George didn't bring in 2 people this week, and maybe Harold didn't, and maybe Jack didn't, but maybe Chuck brought in 5, and so he had to put them underneath his friend Harold and Jack. Ken did get his 2 this week. David brought in those 2 for Larry because he's a real go-getter. Okay? So this continues to duplicate itself. Now what happens is our first week we had 5 applications. My mother, my sister, and my 3 friends. Week 2, we had 12 applications. Week 3, we had 22 applications. And when I say we, I mean me, Mary and Tom, Bob, Chuck, David. Week 4, we had 42. The next week, we had 88. The next week, we had 187, give or take. I have it written down. But the point that I'm making is we have absolutely doubled the number of people that came into this organization every single week, exactly the way the company says that it will do. Okay, so week 2 they come and count again. Look on my left and look on my right, and let's say that over here we have $800 additional group sales volume. And let's say over here we have $1,200 additional sales volume. So that means we have $2,000 on our left and $3,600 on our right and $2,600 on our right. Now the computer is only looking for $1,000 increments. So we have another $1,000 there and another $1,000 there, which means you've reached step 2, which they call the silver level, and that's a $400 commission check and a 15-minute card. Okay, the following week it's going to come, look on the left, look on the right, and let's say here you have 1,200 additional sales. And again, that's not just new people that came in, that's Santa Claus cards, that's cards at the flea market, that's any retailing that's taken place, that's birthday cards that you've ordered that have a prepaid phone card in them. Any retailing that's taking place is included in that. So on this side you have 3,200. On this side, let's say you have another $1,200 worth of business, so you have $3,800. The computer is only looking for an additional $1,000. They found it. So if you've reached step 3, which is a $600 check and a 15-minute card. So what happens here is your first $1,000, you receive a $200 check. Your second $1,000, you receive a $400 check. And your third $1,000, you receive a $600 check. Now at this point, the computer starts all over and looks again for an additional $1,000 the next week or an additional $2,000. Now what happened to me is my first week, when the computer came and looked on the left and looked on the right, I had $800 on my left and $1,200 on my right, so I didn't get a commission check. Week 2, when it came and looked on my left and looked on my right, I had $3,200 on my left and $3,000 on my right. So what happened then, that meant that I had reached step 1, step 2, and step 3 all in 1 week. So I got all 3 checks, which meant my paycheck, my second week, was $1,200 and 5.5 hours of long distance. So when the computer is looking, you can either reach 1 step at a time. It could be possible that when it looks on your left and finds $2,000 your first week and $2,000 your $2,000 on the right your second week or your first week, you would hit step 1 and step 2 at one time and get a $600 check. You can do this in whatever increments you want. You can do them all at one time, you can do it one at a time, you can do it all in 1 week, or you can do it in 6 months. It makes no difference. But what happens here is in order to reach step 3, right here, 3,000 on your left and 3,000 on your right, it takes 15 people on your left and 15 people on your right, or 15 IRCs, one or the other, if we're just talking about people and not including any retail sales. Well, what happens is once you have 15 people and you've earned this $1,200 check, in order to reach step 3 again, you have to have another 15 people, because 15 people times a $200 card is $3,000. Well, to get these first 15 people, it was Stephanie all by herself. And then it was Stephanie with Mary and Tom's help, and then we had Mary and Tom and Arthur's help, and then we added Bob and Chuck, and then 2 or 3 days later we added David and Ken, and accumulatively it took us a while to reach 15 on our left and 15 on our right, and reach step 3, which was $1,200. Okay? For me, that took 2 weeks. For some people, it takes 6 weeks. For some people, it takes 8 weeks. It doesn't make any difference. Regardless of how long it takes you to get to that point, once you get to that point, we're all at the starting gate. Because what happens then, we all have 15 on our left and 15 on our right, and in order to reach step 3 the next time and get a $1,200 check again, you need 15 more people. Well, now you have 15 people trying to find 15 people. So it's much, much, much easier. It happens much, much, much quicker. You have a gathering like this, you have a couple people going out to people's living rooms, you have people talking to people at work, and very, very quickly, these 15 people find 15 people, and now you have 30 people on your left and 30 people on your right, and you get the $1,200 check again, and another 5.5 hours of long distance. What happens the next week? You have 30 people who need to find 15 people in order for you to hit step 3. Now, if they don't find them, you'll hit step 1 or step 2. You'll still get a commission check. But to get step 3, the $1,200, 30 people have to find 15 people. But now it's twice as easy. It doesn't take long for 30 people to find 15 people. And the following week, you have 45 people now. And you got step 3 again and made $1,200 again the next week. Now, in order to make $1,200 the next week, 45 people have to find 15 people. They do, and you have 60 people. You get the $1,200 check again. And now, in order to make $1,200 the next week, 60 people have to find 15 people. Do you see? Each week it gets incredibly easier. Then you have 75 people who have to find 15 people in order for you to hit step 3 again. So that $1,200 a week check is almost a given once you hit step 3 2 times. Once you go through this cycle 2 times. Might take you 3 or 4 weeks to hit step 1, might take you another 2 or 3 weeks to hit step 2, might take you another 2 or 3 weeks to hit step 3, but the point is, then you have 15 on your left and 15 on your right. Might take you another 2 or 3 more weeks to go through this cycle again, but then you have 30 people on your left and 30 people on your right, and STS will not allow me to promise you this, but I'm telling you, once you've gone through this cycle twice and you have 60 people underneath you, they're going to find 15 a week on your left and 15 a week on your right, and you're going to get that step 3 check every week. It's a mathematical probability that that will happen. This takes on a life of its own. Somebody takes off, and it is a done deal for you. Now, my 6th week, I sent away for a printout. Anybody can do this. Your first 2 are free, and they will give you a printout of everybody that's underneath you. Okay? At the end of my 6th week, this is what they sent me. At this point, I had only brought in 15 people myself, and actually, that's 15 people my sister and I brought in together. I brought in 8, and she brought in 7. The rest of these people, Mary and Tom and Chuck and David brought in. But the point is, there's 11 pages here with 55 people each on it. Let's just say that's 550 people. Don't you think 550 people will find 15 people each week? And don't you think that that $1,200 a week check is probably a given for me, my 6th week in this business? And that is absolutely a mathematical fact, whether STS will allow me to say that to you or not. Okay? Now what happens next is once you have hit step 3, that $1,200 check or that $600 check, regardless of how you hit it, whether you hit it accumulatively or singularly, what happens once you do that 2 or 3 or 4 weeks in a row, it stands to reason that someone on your left and someone on your right is also going to hit step 3. Because Mary has a left and a right, and Arthur has a left and a right, and Earl has a left and a right. And after the computer finishes with me, it comes over here to Mary, looks on her left and her right, comes over here to Arthur, looks on his left and his right. And very, very soon after, in my particular experience, it's been 2 or 3 weeks after I hit step 3 that people underneath me started doing it. Well, what happens then when someone on your left and someone on your right, it can be Mary and Tom, it can be Mary and Dick, it can be Arthur and Chuck, it can be Mary and Ken, one person on your left and one person on your right hit step 3, the company gives you a $400 bonus that week and another 5-hour card. They call it a leadership bonus because they think if people underneath you are reaching step 3, it must be because you're helping them out. You're giving them all the hints that you learned to get to step 3. You might be doing presentations for them. Just helping them out in their business like an upline is supposed to do. So they give you a $400 bonus, so you earn a $600 check that week and 10.5 hours of prepaid long distance. Now, as soon as 2 people on your left and 2 people on your right in the same downline hit step 3 in the same week that you do, they give you another $400 bonus that week, and so now you're earning $2,000 a week on this Income Resource Center. Now this bonus I hit for the first time my 4th week, and as soon as I hit it, it continued to hit every week after that. This one I hit my 6th week. Now, the next bonus is when 3 people on your left and 3 people on your right hit step 3, if they're in the same downline, and then they give you a $500 bonus, so you're making $2,500 a week on this Income Resource Center. And then when 4 people on your left and 4 people on your right, gets real boring, doesn't it? In the same downline, hit step 3 in 1 week, there's another $500 bonus for a total of $3,000 per week per Income Resource Center. Now this business started, I told you, May 16th in Sarasota, Florida, and I have met many, many people from Sarasota that started May, June, and July, and I have met more people than I can count, and I'll be glad to give you names that are earning this every single week on one Income Resource Center. Okay? And if I got to this point on one Income Resource Center in 6 weeks, I don't think this is an unreasonable goal for me to have in the same length of time that they did it. Now what happens, because this gets better, once you hit this bonus for the first time, and I told you I did that my 4th week, which means 1 person on your left and 1 person on your right, and for example, Kathy Buffington, who is hosting this meeting tonight, hit that step 3 her 3rd week in the business, so it happens very quickly if you're making a commitment like she has. Once that happens, once someone under me does that, and I get this $400 bonus, they give you a free Income Resource Center. They said, hey, you did such a good job, we're going to give you another one of these free. And you take it, you plug it in anywhere you want in your downline, you put your Social Security number in it, and you introduce the business to Mary and Tom, and you start all over again until this one is earning $1,200 to $3,000 a week. And when this one hits this bonus for the first time, which means someone on its left and someone on its right earns step 3, they give you another one free. You plug it in down here, put your Social Security number in it, introduce it to Mary and Tom, and when that one hits this bonus for the first time, they give you another one, and that goes on for infinity. In the length of time I've been in this business, which is since November 1st, I have already earned 4 free Income Resource Centers. I don't even know what to do with them because I can't work them all yet. There's a lady in Sarasota, her name is Linda Rissy, who started in this business in May. She was a Mary Kay sales lady prior to doing this, and she told me that she had never made $1,200 a week selling Mary Kay. She had actually made about $500 a month. She said she made $1,200 a week at Christmas time when they have all the open houses that they have with Mary Kay. But she asked me about a week ago, she called and said, I have just a new expansion center. That's one of these free ones. She said, do you mind if I fax it over for you to put in your organization somewhere? And of course I was thrilled because that means you'll be putting people in underneath me. But when I got it, now this is your 001, the computer calls that your 001, this free one's your 002, that free one's your 003, and so forth and so on. And the one she sent me over was her 011. Now that means since that girl came into this business in May, she has earned that many free ones. Now, you have to be making $1,600 on one before you get a free one. And I'm a preschool teacher, so I don't know what 11 times 1,600 is. But if you round that off, that's an awfully lot of money for 6 months. And the only difference between Linda Rissy and me is 6 months, and the only difference between Linda Rissy and you is 8 months. Okay? Now what happens once you earn this check for the first time, or this check for the first time, or any one of these checks, and whether it's your first week or your 6th month, it doesn't make any difference. When you earn your first check, from that point on, 30 days from the day from the day they cut that check, you have to start purchasing $75 worth of product each month. That's Florida State network marketing law. I think it's law probably in all 50 states. Now, because you're earning all the free prepaid long distance you want, and I'm earning and have earned for the last 3 or 4 weeks 20 and a half hours a week because I'm operating more than one of these, 20 and a half hours of long distance a week. So needless to say, I don't need to buy $75 a month worth of prepaid long distance to use myself. So what you order is they have all kinds of neat promotional items. They have little 10-minute cards. They have the STS logo on them, and you might give them to someone and say, I've just gotten involved in something really exciting. I'd like to tell you about it. Why don't you use this card, and I'll give you a call in a few days. Well, when they use that card, a message comes on that says, this call is courtesy of STS. If you'd like to earn free long distance for the rest of your life and earn a substantial weekly income, please call the person that gave you this card. So because you're going to buy those kinds of things, they have peel-off labels that are worth 10 minutes of free long distance that you can put on the back of your own business card, or you can put it at the bottom of a letter if you want to write someone from out of town and tell them you've just got involved in this, send them some brochures, send them a fax on demand number, and give them a prepaid phone call with a prepaid peel-off long-distance label. Because you're going to buy those kind of things, this $75, number one, is 100% deductible. And number two, when everyone in your downline, or all the people in your downline that are earning a check, are also going to be purchasing $75 a month worth of product, which means it's not very long, 2 or 3 months into the business, when the computer comes here, looks on your left each week and looks on the right each week for your $1,000 or your $2,000 or your $3,000, they're also going to total up all these $75 purchases. And it isn't very long, and I have met people in Sarasota who get their entire weekly check just on those $75 purchases. And when I received my check this week, with it comes a printout and shows you everybody that you have earned commission on and everything that people have purchased. If you were to buy $200 worth of cards, in addition to coming into the business, that would be on there. Well, on this week's check, there were 23 of these $75 purchases. So already, after only 10 weeks in this business, I'm already earning a substantial weekly income just on the $75 a month purchases. Okay? Do you know what we don't have is an eraser, which is my, oh, look at you, how professional. Gee, I don't even have one of these anymore. I leave these at everybody's house. Okay, what happens is the company allows you one time and one time only, and this is a very, very powerful leverage that the company offers to you. And I used to kind of slough over this because I was very uncomfortable with the fact that it may sound like a high-pressured sales pitch. But what has happened is, in the last few weeks, people have come back to me and said, Stephanie, you really didn't explain the tri-pack. It isn't fair. If I had understood it, that's how I would have come into the company. So I want to explain it. I want everyone to understand it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me. One time and one time only, the company will allow you to come in for your $99. Your Social Security number is here. This is your 001, and you're going to purchase $200 worth of product, just like we said. They will allow you, instead of introducing this business to Mary and Tom, you may sell the first 2 spots underneath you to yourself. Your Social Security number will go here, and you will purchase $200 worth of product in each one of these spots, your 002 and your 003. Now that means instead of $299, you're going to purchase $600 worth of product and a $99 career pack. Instead of having 5.5 hours of prepaid long distance, you're going to have 15.5 hours of prepaid long distance and a career pack and a tape and an audio and all the things that come with this. Now, one of the advantages to this is you have satisfied your $200 for $600 worth of personal sales, so you can start earning commission immediately. The second advantage, and there's a number of ways that you can work this, and I'm going to show you several, is this. This is the left and the right of your 001. Your 002 has a left and a right, and your 003 has a left and a right. So let's say that we sell this spot to Mary and this spot to Tom. And then they sell to Arthur and Bob and Chuck and David and Earl and Frank and George and Harold and Jack and Larry, etc., etc. So now when the computer comes Monday at noon to my Social Security number, it's going to look on my left and it's going to find this volume. And it's going to look on my right and it's going to find this volume. So I'm going to get my check. Let's say I'm going to get my $1,200 check. Okay? Now, once this 001 has earned $1,200 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row, it's kind of a judgment call. At some point, it takes on a life of its own, and it does that no matter what. And that's based on the number of people that are underneath you. Well, then you come and introduce this program to another Mary, and you start a leg here. You might run into a real go-getter you know is going to just go crazy over this business, and so you open another leg. Now you're operating 3 legs. Well, when the computer comes here, looks on your left, it finds this volume, looks on the right, finds this volume, pays you that check. Then it comes down here to your 002, finds a left leg and a right leg, gives you a check. Now, the beauty of this is this left leg, whatever volume this is, let's say $2,000, that $2,000 is paying your 001, and that same $2,000 is paying your 002. Because it's the left leg of your 002 and it's the left leg of your 001. Then a few months down the line, you run into another real go-getter. Hey, I'm going to open up another leg. New Mary. She's going to sell it to Arthur and Bob and Chuck and David, and now when the computer comes to every one of your IRCs, it's going to pay all of them. And so what happens here is that you have 4 legs, but you get paid 3 checks. You have 2 organizations, and you get an absolutely free check without doing anything. And what happens is when this one reaches that $400 for the first time, that bonus, you get a free IRC. When this one reaches bonus for the first time, you get a free IRC. When this one reaches bonus for the first time, you get a free IRC, which means you get 3 times the bonuses for 2 times the work, 3 times the pay for 2 times the work. I'm going to give you an example of something that happened to me. Now, right now, I am operating 4 IRCs because I happen to be operating all 3 of mine and a free one that I got. My other free ones are in a file cabinet, okay? But what happened here is, let's just say I had 2 legs. I happened to go to Jacksonville weekend before last, and it just happened to be an incredible weekend. It happened to be my daughter, and she had invited friends over. She hadn't gotten into the business yet, and from the time I gave the presentation on Saturday till the time she got through at the end of the week, they had 40-ish, I forget the number now, of apps, 40 new people, let's say. So when I came back and sent these in Saturday, I put that first one there, the second one there, the third one there, the fourth one there, the fifth one there, all the way down to 40. And because that volume was so large, this one, the very first week that it opened up, earned a $2,000 check. Because this one was already very strong. This is where Kathy Buffington and all her people are, and Nancy Pritchett and all the people above her. So it's already got people underneath it hitting step 3 every week. I have more than one person hitting step 3 every week here. Automatically, in this group of 40 people, I had 2 people hit step 3, even though it was their first week. And so I earned the $2,000 check and should earn that $2,000 check on that 002 from here on out. I never could have done that if I hadn't had the tri-pack. I could have still opened this leg on one of my free ones, but I still would have only had 1 leg. I would have had to find someone else to do the other side. So it's a very, very powerful opportunity, and you can only do it one time. You can only come into the business one time under your own Social Security number. You can come in under husband and wife, so that if you choose not to buy a tri-pack, you can come in at a later date in your wife or husband's name in a tri-pack, but you can only do it one time in your Social Security number. Now, I like just to finish up with this report that was published by Harvard Business School. And they say that network marketing is being taught in more than 200 colleges, including Harvard Business School. After extensive research into the network marketing industry, Harvard Business School developed 3 criteria that a network marketing company must have in order to make it a most desirable opportunity. And they are, number 1, the company must be at least 18 months old, as 90% of all network marketing companies that fail do so in the first 18 months. Now, this company is only 8 months old, but people that are expert in network marketing believe that they meet this criteria because the 4 corporate officers have been together in telecommunications for 5.5 years. And the reason they established this criteria to begin with is because they think it's important that there's a strong management structure. And because these people have been together so long, they feel that we meet this criteria. Number 2, the company must have a product which is unique and highly consumable. Nothing more consumable than a debit card. And number 3, Harvard says it needs to be a ground floor opportunity. Harvard's Business School suggests that in order for the opportunity to qualify as a ground floor type, the number of existing distributorships should be less than 0.5% in the country where the network company exists. In the United States, this figure is equal to 1.5 million people, which translated means if the company has less than 100,000 distributors, and as of last week STS had 37,000, then Harvard Business School considers it to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And the only difference between me and every person in this room is 10 weeks. And that's a fact. Does anybody have any questions? It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
It's a little overwhelming a little bit, but
yes, it is.
The question I had was, say somebody drops out of your downline or dies from all the excitement. How does that work?
Yeah. If somebody dies, number one, if somebody dies, it's a business and it's inheritable, just like if you owned a gas station, you know, it becomes part of your estate. But what you're asking is if what happens to the circle, it becomes inactive and the money just goes right through it and on up. Absolutely nothing happens to it. It's just a vacant space. You don't ever fill it with anybody else. Yeah. You can sell your business, you can transfer your business, you can give it away, you can will it. It's no different than owning a gas station.
So you can put a different social security number to that spot?
If you were to decide, if you owned an income resource center and decided you wanted to give it to your son or to your best friend, yes, there is a way you have to do it. It costs $50. It involves some notarized signatures, but there's a way to do it. It's in your manual.
And they'd right away be making the money that it was already making?
In fact, we've already done that one time. My husband bought one, and we ended up putting it in my daughter's name, and just involved a letter and a social security numbers and notary and that kind of thing. Yeah. Any other questions?
Any downsides you run across?
Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. No, and we've had some serious problems. We had a real serious problem with Kathy Buffington, with me making a mistake on the Social Security number and her losing an entire leg. We've had a number of other serious mistakes that have caused people problems. But everything that's happened, an entire leg. We've had a number of other serious mistakes that have caused people problems. But everything that's happened, the company has come right in and fixed as quickly as possible to everyone's satisfaction. I haven't had a single problem that they haven't come right to the rescue. They have under-promised and over-delivered and everything. I keep looking for something like that to happen. We had somebody, the $75, if you don't pay it within 30 days, you become inactive. You don't get your check that week. Now, you can reactivate by sending it the next week, but they don't remind you about it. You can automatically have it deducted from your checking account or from your MasterCard, but they don't bill you. And I had, he happened to be a firefighter, very young, 25, struggling to make ends meet, and he forgot to send in and he was due to get a $1,000 check that week. He'd already gotten his $200. I mean, he called me absolutely in tears, and I said, Chuck, it's policy. I mean, it's in your manual. I remind you at every presentation, my heart's broken, but there really isn't anything I can do. But I called up there just to see what the policy was for requalifying him. Could he just send it in, or did he need to overnight it? And I was so upset when I called. They said, Stephanie, we're just going to give him a check, and they mailed it anyway. I don't know that they'll ever do that again, and I can't say that don't worry about sending it again, but that particular incident, and there was a couple extenuating circumstances that caused them to do it. But I'm just telling you, they're bent backwards, to do those kind of things. And this company is so ground floor that the president of the company, his name is Bert Schlegel, he's head honcho.
I got my Bert Schlegel phone call.
Oh, did you really? Okay, well, what Kathy's saying, I'm going to have her tell you about in a minute, but Bert Schlegel has actually called my house before because I've sent up paperwork to correct errors, and data entry girls have gone into him and said, hey, does this girl know what she's doing? And he's called me on the phone to make sure that the paperwork I was sending in was correct, and I did, in fact, want to do what I said I was doing. And that's not going to happen with Amway. I don't know who that head honcho is, but he's not calling Stephanie McAley in Arcadia, Florida. I know that. What, did he call you about the error we made?
No. One of my downlines sent a money order, a U.S. postal money order for $760 for a tri-pack. Well, it was only valid for up to $700. And he called me and said, Kathy, this isn't valid. What do you want to do? So we sent him another one. He sent that one back. He got it all cleared up.
Interestingly enough, I sent that myself at the Tampa Airport post office Sunday. And whenever, because I was buying a lot of them there, and when they came, I was going through them in front of the post the postal employee, and when he saw that, he says, "That's not legal. You can't do that." I said, "Oh, they can do it in Punta Gorda." And he explained to me real quickly the regulations were the same in Punta Gorda as they were in Tampa. But he said, "Go ahead and send it through." He said, "I don't know whether they'll take it or not, but, you know." So, and they let the app go through?
No, well, we had to send them a new one.
Okay. Do you realize what that means, though? That means that if they're processing your apps, that means the mistake is fixed.
No, this was my right leg.
Yeah, but they all went. When I sent in all your apps this week, I put them in one package, and I said, "Do not process these unless it's been fixed."
Okay, well, he pulled me up, because I asked him about that. I said, "Now I have this other little problem." And when he pulled me up, he said, "No, you have 200 on your left and 4,200 on your right."
That was all in the same. Well, okay.
And I called Tammy today, but she didn't return my call.
Okay, well, everything was all in the same package, so that means it's gone to the right people. And I said, these apps cannot be processed until this is fixed. So they wouldn't have. You know, it might not be in the computer yet, but it's... Okay, any questions? Yeah.
How many people is in, I guess, go to Knoxville? Or
How many people what?
is in Knoxville working? I mean, do you have any idea?
Are you asking me how many people are in Knoxville?
Yeah, I mean, no, not the city itself, but...
I know. How many reps? I don't have a clue.
Okay, there's
Yeah.
a lot of large volume of processes coming in and out.
Oh, you mean how many people work in the home office?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Staff or whatever.
Yeah, I do know that there's a lot of growing pains there because it's growing so fast. You know, that there's always new people but no, I don't know. Yeah.
Wait, when you get the TriPack, the $75, now do you only have to pay that for one? Or do you have to pay that every time you open a new?
The answer is yes and no. Whenever you're just earning a check on your 001, you only have to purchase $75 worth of product on that one. But as soon as you start receiving a check on this one, then you also have to purchase. But understand your checks are weekly. This is monthly, and you're not ever going to open another one until this one's earning at least $1,200 a week. The girl in Sarasota that sent me 011, she has to purchase $75 a month times 11, and who cares? That's what happens when it gets to that point. It just doesn't make any difference. Yeah, but yes, you do. If you're earning a check on an IRC, you have to purchase 75, because each one of these is a separate business in the eyes of Florida state law. Okay? Yeah. Anything else?
Any more legal questions come up? Have you had any legal questions or people worried about being legal and things like that?
Well, when they do, I ask them to call the Attorney General's office in Tallahassee. That's what we did.
Yeah.
And they gave us a fine bill of health. Had not heard a thing. It was registered to do business in Florida, and there had been no complaints, no inquiries even. You know. And I told you we checked out the law firm that set it up, and yeah.
What about the product itself?
You weren't interested. You were just here to take pictures. I told him after he heard it.
You spoke about as far as the getting people to sign up. What about the product itself?
Tell me what you're asking, though.
How much is the calling time, like per minute or whatever? How would you sell that?
The card varies. If you buy one card, it's 60 cents a minute. If you buy 1,000,000 minutes, it's as low as 13 cents a minute. So if you were going to sell to a car dealership who would probably order 1,000,000 minutes, he would get it as low as, well, that's wholesale. You'd probably sell it for 20 cents a minute because of your profit, but it depends on the volume. If you buy one card, they're expensive. Although 60 cents a minute really isn't expensive away from your home. It's only